I keep on trying to explain to everybody that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not just dealing with tremendous pressure from the Obama, Biden, Blinken administration, but also from the deep military state here in Israel, including current IDF leadership and former IDF generals, who are all working basically for the Biden administration instead of working to protect the Israeli people. And this is not just me saying this, but here is columnist Caroline Glick's final words in her recent article titled, "Why Has Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant Abandoned Israel's War Goals?" The state of affairs where the general staff is aligned with a hostile administration in Washington against the Prime Minister and the public doesn't allow for any major strategic initiatives. Israel must proceed slowly towards achieving its war goals, and its supporters must stand with it, step by plotting step as it moves to achieve them. End quote from Caroline Glick's article. Netanyahu successfully fought off these pressures for 8 years from the previous Obama, Biden, Clinton administrations, and now he is having to do it again. Back then, the U.S. administration under President Obama tried to force a Palestinian state upon Israel, as today's administration is trying to do again. This time with the added incentive of a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia. But as I keep on telling you, they are not going up just against Netanyahu. They are going up against the whole Jewish people in Israel today. Back during the 8-year administration of Obama, Biden, Clinton, Netanyahu only had 50% of the Israeli population that supported him in pushing off the pressure. And he successfully fought off their pressures. Today, after the October 7th massacre, virtually no Jewish Israelis will ever agree to any Arab-Muslim rule in Gaza, and definitely not ever agree to the creation of a Palestinian state. So how bad is our deep military state here in Israel that Caroline Glick alludes to? Well, remember during the judicial reform protest movement, former IDF general and Prime Minister Ehud Barak openly was talking about a coup to topple the government. And all the heads and former heads of the IDF and intelligence openly supported the call for soldiers to disobey orders and not show up for service even if we were attacked by Iran. All part of that judicial reform protest. I wrote about this topic here, and spoke about it on various Pulse videos here and here. And then again, I spoke about it in a video that I made during this war. Same issue, just repackaged during the war. Well, now I want to show you a video montage of TV interviews with former IDF generals, including Ehud Barak, also former Prime Minister, Benny Gantz, who's in the War Cabinet right now, Gadi Eisenstock, also in the War Cabinet, and a few others during the judicial reform protest movement, exposing how deep this deep military state is in Israel. Watch.
במצב הנוכחי אין איום קיומי צבאי, לא של צבא קונבנציונלי, לא של רקטות, לא של טרור.
הסכנה האמיתית למדינת ישראל היום היא פנימית ולא חיצונית. מה שקורה לנו בתוך מדינת ישראל, ההפרד ומשול שמתקיים בין חלקי החברה הישראלית, הוא סיכון יותר גדול מאיזשהו טרוריסט מעזה, מלבנון או מסוריה.
יש איום קיומי פנימי.
הדבר שהכי מסכן את מדינת ישראל בעיניי זה היעדר סולידריות בחברה הישראלית.
יותר מהאיראנים, הפלסטינים.
כן. אני חושב שהחוסן הלאומי והחוסן החברתי של מדינת ישראל הוא המרכיב המרכזי ביכולת שלנו להגן על הביטחון הלאומי.
אני חושב שעל הדבר הזה יסכימו כל הרמטכ"לים החיים, כמעט כל ראשי המוסד החיים וכל ראשי השב"כ החיים. זאת אומרת, כל האנשים שעוסקים או עמדו בראש מערכות הביטחון, מבינים היום שאיום יותר חמור על עתידה של מדינת ישראל. מאיראן, מהחזבאללה, מהחמאס, זה מה שקורה בתוכנו.
Do you see how disconnected these former IDF generals are from reality? They were warning about the judicial reform, how it was dividing Israeli society, even though it was the protest movement that they were leading that was dividing society, and that the division they were responsible for creating was the government's fault and was a bigger threat to Israel than all of our enemies. Why do they have this view? Because many of our military leaders view their fellow Jews like Smotrich and Ben Gvir and me as a bigger threat to Israel than our actual enemies, who literally teach their kindergarten children to grow up and be martyrs, to murder innocent Jews like they just did en masse on October 7th. And these generals saw the judicial reform as representing the strengthening of the proud Jewish population in Israel in Israeli politics, while in reality the judicial reform was truly about reforming a flawed and left-wing biased justice system that serves the elite left. Do you want a recent example? While the courts give harsh punishments to right-wing protesters, just the other day, a judge freed the anarchist left-wing protesters saying, and I'm quoting this judge, "These type of people don't belong in jail," end quote. That is why we need judicial reform. But I digress. Going back to the video of the former IDF generals, did you hear how former IDF general and Prime Minister Ehud Barak exposed that it's not just them in the interview, but what they are saying represents the majority of all the former IDF chiefs of staff and heads of the various Israeli intelligence agencies? That is why they get rid of excellent IDF officers who are true warriors and motivated to defeat our enemies, like Ofer Winter, who is recognized as being one of the most experienced and successful officers in fighting in Gaza, and another officer named Dvir Chaver, also recognized as being an excellent officer with unbelievable successes in this war right now in Gaza, and they have been stopped from being promoted to senior leadership of the IDF. Instead, the IDF and intelligence services only promote officers who agree with their failed, disastrous October 6th thinking, influenced by years of studies in Harvard University and by special educational programs funded by progressive American Jewish NGOs. The officers who get promoted all basically are neutered militarily by these educational programs, educating them that we have no enemies today, that pluralism is more important than victory in modern armies, and other destructive ideas that stop them from being able to do the one thing military leaders are supposed to do: defeat one's enemies to protect the country's citizens. And this is not Avi Abelo saying this, but retired General Yitzhak Brick has been saying this for years, that the top IDF brass are unable to protect Israelis and win wars because they were just trained to manage conflicts. They don't know how to do it. It's not just the IDF that has been neutered like this. The U.S. Army senior staff has also been neutered in this same way by this progressive, disastrous thinking. Thankfully, both of our armies still have plenty of amazing soldiers who are not brainwashed by all these destructive progressive ideas, but their voices are silenced or sidelined, or they are let go before they get too high. The bottom line is, I wanted to share this all with you so that you can all further understand just how challenging it is for Netanyahu and his government to win this war and push off the tremendous destructive pressures from the world, especially from the Obama, Biden, Blinken administration, because our own senior IDF intelligence leaders and those in the government are working against the Prime Minister and our government, and instead working for the Biden administration to fulfill U.S. interests. Which is why we have all three former generals in the war cabinet giving ultimatums to Netanyahu to accept the disastrous U.S. plan to allow the terrorist Palestinian Authority to have control in Gaza together with Hamas. Continuing, the Israeli people are smarter than our neutered military and intelligence leaders. No Israeli up north or down south are going back to their homes until they no longer fear any terror attacks from any terrorists in Gaza or from any terrorists up north in Lebanon. Any IDF military leader who says that Israelis should still expect terror and rocket attacks from Gaza, even after we end this war, well, they are all failed military leaders and must resign ASAP. And there have been a few of them who've said that so far. Not only are they projecting their failure at doing their jobs in the military, they are projecting their failure at understanding what their job is in the military and why they are serving as officers in the Israeli army. Understand, despite this reality, which can be really depressing, I am here to show you the silver lining and be optimistic. We are living in biblical times. The reality of a neutered IDF military intelligence senior staff has been in existence for decades, mostly started by the Oslo Accords in the early 1990s, when our military leaders turned into politicians looking after the interests of the Palestinian Authority as a peace partner instead of viewing them as an enemy. What we are experiencing today is the wake-up process exposing this reality that until now was ignored by too many. And it's only now that people are waking up to it can we change it. It is only because this is being exposed now for all of Israeli society to see that we will have the public support to make the necessary changes. The Israeli people want to live. We love life. And we all know that we can only live life if we finally have a total victory. And the Israeli people will be demanding the changes necessary so that we can win this war and continue to protect ourselves in the future properly. So be positive, everyone. God is in charge. We are living through godly processes. Positive changes are coming. They still will take some time. We will still experience plenty of frustrating times and painful times, but the necessary changes will come. And in terms of future leaders, we are blessed with so many King David-like warriors today in the IDF, in the lower ranks. They are not leading the army yet, but we will break the glass ceiling, stopping them from being promoted to the senior positions in the IDF and the intelligence. This is exactly what the current and former IDF and intelligence leaders are afraid of, and that is what they are trying to stop. But they can't. It is inevitable. The change will come. They will fail in stopping the new, proud generation of young Jews in Israel, whether religious or not as religious, from taking over this country from the disconnected existing elites. We still have challenges ahead, but the journey to these necessary changes taking place has begun. Like I always tell you, we are winning this war, and we will win this war, defeating our enemies and overcoming our internal challenges. Strengthen your faith in the one above, folks. He is in charge. We are living through biblical and redemptive times. Hold on to that optimism. Am Yisrael Chai. And if you are not yet a subscriber of my Pulse of Israel videos and podcasts, go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. And if you enjoy these videos and you believe they're important and more people should hear them, click on the donate button. Click on the donate button every once in a while on pulseofisrael.com. Signing off for another episode of Pulse of Israel here in our eternal and ancestral homeland, land of Israel, in our beautiful, ancestral, biblical, and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.